All right, hello. Let's put a mosaic on here so we can see everybody. All right, we got a couple of people here.
I'm gonna.
I am Kwame,
Hi, I'm Clarice.
and we're the Abdul-Beys. We are the co-convenors of the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement and the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement, APJMM. What we've been doing for the last several months is we've been hosting the Shelter in Place virtual film series. And the goal of that series is to play films and screen films that. Let's put a mosaic on here so we can see everybody. Hold on, let me. Got a couple of people here. I am Kwame.
Hi, I'm Clarice.
And we're the Abdul-Beys. We are the co-convenors of the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement. Okay, I need everybody, if everybody can turn their volume off on the OVEE. What we've been doing, because I'm hearing.
You turn the OVEE.
Yeah, you can close that window for OVEE and we'll start all over. All right, sorry about that. Again, we're Kwame and Clarice Abdul-Bey, and we're the co-conveners of the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement, APJMM. And what we've been doing since the COVID-19 lockdown began, I guess, in March here in Arkansas, we've been hosting weekly film screenings, and we've chose films that actually make you think, films that are very socially conscious, and that start discussions. And on several of those films, we've ended the films with panel discussions. What is different about this particular event tonight is this is the beginning of a series of roundtable discussions dealing with what's going on in the world today that is known as Black Lives Matter. And I am happy to have several organizers from throughout the state of Arkansas who are affiliated with the Black Lives Matter movement. And what we want to do is we want to have a discussion, a roundtable discussion, to just talk about where we are, where we want to go, where we've been, were our impressions on the film that we just saw. And do you want to get us started?
Before we get started, though, and welcome and thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm really happy to see you guys be here and be with us. What I want to do before we get started is I would like to be able for us to set the energy of the space. And I really want us to be able to have a small moment of silence, probably about 20 seconds, honoring those victims of racial terror and violence in our country. And I'm gonna play some healing. There's some crystal healing bowls that I want to play while we reflect on those who have been murdered. We saw in the video that they were naming all of the names that we all witnessed on television, even here in our state, which is Brother Bradley Blackshire, who was also murdered. And so in that 20 seconds, what I'd like to do is play this, and I want us to just create some space for them. And in your mind, I would like for you to see a different outcome. I would like for you to see the outcome of them being free and them being alive. And I'm gonna go ahead and play this. And we're just gonna reflect for a second. Thank you.
Okay. Let's take a moment for everyone to introduce themselves. We do have a couple of people that are trying to still get into the discussion, and I'm going to work with that. But well, I got to give them the instructions. Okay. So if everybody could start, let's just start with introduce yourself by your name, the city in which you're doing your activism, and if there's a particular organization that you're with, you can also name that organization as well. And just a few words about why you think this is important, that what we're doing tonight.
And we're going to start from left to right. So from our left to right is Latonya.
Good evening. I am Latonya Laird-Austin, Honorable, and I work primarily in the Pulaski County, Arkansas area. And it's important for me because we've seen so many people suffer at the hands of folks in positions of authority that abuse that authority on a number of different levels, particularly law enforcement, but other levels as well. And I just feel like I have a duty and a responsibility to do something about it. If I see it and it's not right, I feel like I should do something.
Thank you, Latonya. Carissa Rodgers.
Hello, my name is Carissa Rodgers. I am a native of Little Rock, Arkansas, born and raised. Instructor at Philander Smith College, former pastor in the United Methodist Church in the city, just healer, organizer, believe in building, really believe in a model of self-governance and of being able to utilize people power to really create anything that we need. Everything that we need is within us. Just a matter of us pulling that together and coming together in common unity, interest, and purpose, and kind of living that out. And so I like to be in spaces that help us cultivate and create that. And so I'm glad to be here on today.
Thank you, Carissa. Chris?
Good evening. My name is Chris Ogburn from Warren, Arkansas, that is southeast of Pine Bluff. I wouldn't call myself an activist at all, just a community organizer, engaged with a couple of different organizations, but primarily I am actually a candidate for state representative of District 8. So I am actually challenging a Republican incumbent to be in the legislature for next year. And so that's the approach I've been coming at for the last 4 or 5 years, is the legislative side of social justice reform. So I just thank y'all for having me.
Thank you, Chris. Shay.
Hey, I'm Shay. I'm out of Shay Holloway. I'm out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. And just like Chris, I wouldn't consider myself an activist either, more like a person with an opinion about what's right and what's wrong. I don't work with any organizations. It's just me and the like-minded people who are around me. But I feel like this is important to me because in the documentary they listed so many names of people who have died at the hands of police brutality, and it's like they list these names and these protests and everything happen, and it's like a repeat almost of the civil rights movement, and it shouldn't be that given how many years have passed. So it's just not connecting with me because we shouldn't be here saying the same things, fighting for the same things that they were back during the civil rights movement.
Thank you, Shay. Natalie?
Natalie? Okay, she's got herself muted.
Okay.
Okay, while she's working that out, Drekkia.
We'll come back, Natalie.
Hey everybody, it's the poet, the artist, the creator, and energy curator, Drekkia Writes, and I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. Graduated from UCA, got my degree in insurance and risk management for some reason, but I'm with the movement, and I feel, really obligated to be a part of the change, to create a better future for my nieces and my nephews. And I'm glad to be here. I've worked with Clarice and Kwami before, teaching poetry for the National Day of Racial Healing. So
Yes.
it's good to be in this space today. So thank you all for creating this space, and I'm looking forward to what we create today.
Yes, thank you,
Indeed.
Drekkia. Natalie, are you still working with it? Okay,
Natalie, we can't hear you at all.
we'll come back, Natalie. Just let us know when
I
you're.
don't know if Natalie can hear us what's going on in the group. Natalie, can you hear when I turn this mic on?
Yeah, I can hear when you turn that mic on. But I can't
Okay.
Oh, we hear you now.
We can hear you
us?
now.
Yeah, now I can.
All right.
Hey, Natalie.
Introduce yourself, Natalie.
I am Natalie James, local realtor, born and raised here, moved away for a little while, moved and lived in Dallas for a few years, and then came back after I lost my father, my uncle, and my cousin, and decided to stay here. And been here since then, saw a need, got behind the keyboard and tried not to, ostracize myself being in real estate, but the calling was too much, so I didn't care anymore, and I just started to speak my mind, and I felt so much better and so much peace, and I decided that I like being a loud, opinionated voice for those who don't have that voice or that option or availability, and I try to make sure I use that loudness to the correct, in the correct direction.
Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome.
Okay, Kymara. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Kymara.
Yeah, Kymara.
Kymara.
Oh, well, I was wrong.
Yeah, so hello to everyone. My name is Kymara Seals. I'm in Pine Bluff, and I am a proud alum of the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, one of the best HBCUs, I believe. Go Lions, yeah. So, but I've been out here doing this work for a while, but we saw an opportunity in this moment, and we have organized in Pine Bluff, as a result of the murder of our brother George Floyd, and we have a group that we're calling the Pine Bluff Social Justice Activists. And so we are, we've been communicating with our police here. We're making some progress. We have, as a result of some of the rallies and the communication we've had, we did have a solidarity rally. He has implemented 2 of the ordinances of the 8 Can't Wait. And so we were real pleased about that. 4 of them they were doing, so we still have some work to do, but we are pleased that we are coming together in Pine Bluff, and we're going to be addressing some systemic racism in institutions here. And so, we've got a lot of work to do, but we're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Kymara. Thank you.
Thank you.
LeRon.
What's up, good people? Man, it was beautiful. My name is LeRon McAdoo, also known as Ron Mac, the hip hop optimist, the mainstay, a whole lot of crazy things. And I would say that my protest nature came from my grandfather, who had economic independence as his own businessman and an owner of a Negro League baseball team. Then my father was one of 3 desegregate his high school in Lebanon, Tennessee. He was one of 3 to do that as a senior in high school. And I've been protesting high school in some organized fashion and on up through adulthood.
Thank you, LeRon.
And Deairra.
I want to say my protest, my fight.
If somebody, hold on a second, Deairra. Someone has something else going.
Just mute yourselves if you can, so that we can hear everyone clearly.
Yeah, we should just be using the Zoom so that everybody can hear us.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Deairra.
Deairra.
I want to say that my fight in me came from my education about our history and what we've done and how far we've come and what we had to go through in order to get to where we are. I grew up, my mom, she used to make us take this big book of African Americans that we had at the house, and every week we would research one person from that big book, and we would have to write a report on them. So I grew up learning my history and being very knowledgeable of our struggles as far as after we came to America. So I definitely think that played a big role in where I am today.
Thank you.
Okay,
Dee.
thank you, thank you.
Let
Okay.
me ask a question. I do have one
Jump
question.
right into it, huh?
Before you ask that, the one about our generational disconnect, because I know that was a hot topic in the chat, but I wanted to know, because it was stated that we're late, like we're late to the fight, and I just want to know from you guys, are we late?
Before you answer that question, I want this is a roundtable discussion, so everybody can unmute themselves and let's just talk amongst ourselves instead of, you know, one after another. We having a conversation, people. Are we late?
Do you feel we late? Do you feel that we're late, or do you feel like that we're coming into our own activism as we are ignited to come into our own activism, and we found our way in it, in the area in which we know that we can work within. So I know that the idea of I'm not an activist was, or the saying of I'm not an activist was said a couple of times, but I think that we all are in some way, that our activism is whatever movement in which we work within. So anybody.
I would say we're late. Well, let's see for me.
I don't necessarily believe that we're late. I'm sorry, am I interrupting somebody?
Yeah, Latonya, go ahead.
Okay, so I wouldn't say that I'm late, much like I wouldn't say several of us are not late, because I think timing is very important. And when the stage is set for certain things to occur, as long as you're ready to take the stage at that time, then I think you're on time. Because I think some of the things that we've seen happen in the past, it hasn't really been ripe for this type of movement. This is a major movement, and major things are happening, and there's a lot that can happen because of the timing of it all. So I wouldn't say late. After others, but not late.
Yeah, I agree with Latonya, because I don't think we were late to this. I think it was the time. And when you look at the time right now, there is some type of protest or rally, a march, a demonstration has happened in all 50 states. That's the first time in the history of this country, okay? And not only that, there's 13 to 16 nations where you have demonstrations or rallies or protests. So I don't think we're late. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of lives at the hands of police, unfortunately. But I think this is our moment, and this is our moment to say, oh, we're going to get results. And through the national, I'm a part of NAACP, I'm a life member, and we have a national campaign called We Are Done Dying. That's our hashtag.
We are done dying.
Exactly. And so I think we have all dug in. We are confronting this evil. And so, yeah, we're here in this time. We're not late. This is our time. And that is my perspective.
Thank
you. And I think also that we have different people with different entry points. I would even suggest that everybody on here came in at a different entry point. Yeah. When students come to my classroom, I can't expect for them all to be at the same level. I teach everybody at ground level and work from there. So some may have started when Rodney King got beat up. Some may have started with Eric Gardner. Some may have started with Michael Brown. Some may have, you know, like I said, my father integrated his schools. So I grew up in a household that talked about activism. You know, so everybody has a different entry point, and I don't think late would be the word, but I would also say people have different levels. So some people may be a firm believer in one type of justice. Maybe their type of justice is we want to get rid of the police. Somebody else may say, I want to be involved with youth. Somebody else may say the churches need to change, whatever. So I think we're at different entry points and different levels.
Thank you. Didi, I know you were trying to speak. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to say that I don't necessarily believe that we're late. I believe that society is late in the reception of what we have to say, because we have been saying it. We've been marching. We've been protesting. It's just at this point, there's more people involved. It's just not Black people necessarily. It's white people, it's Mexican, it's Latinos, it's everybody. And I think this is a pivotal point in the development of our society, because it used to be, oh, I'll mind my business. It's not happening to me. So what do I need to be out there for? But with this inclusive generation where everybody must be included in everything, I believe that brought way to where we are now.
I think that late is a strong word for sure, but if I were to substitute a word for late, I would probably say behind, because I think about the fact that like we're still protesting and still marching, and if we weren't necessarily late or weren't behind, then I feel like there would possibly be other ways to go about pushing our message or gaining some traction or a lot more ground than what we have. Because I feel like in situations like this, if we weren't behind or late, then we would be able to have something, then we would have had something in place where we would be doing more than just worldwide marches or worldwide protests.
Shay, I'm with you, and I'm gonna just be the bad guy on this call, maybe, because we are late. Even though this is a very pivotal time, and it might be the time for this generation to be able to come forward, I do think we are late. In that, when you look at history from a linear base, from civil rights, we went from civil rights to the integrationist generation. And in that integrationist generation, there was almost this attitude where becoming the Black elite was the goal. And in that goal, there was a we've made it kind of position that was taken. And in the we've made it, we allow comfort to impede on our internal strategic planning about how we were going to continue moving forward, not based on what somebody else was conceding to us, but based on what it was that we were envisioning for ourselves, in the way that we were self-identifying, in the way that we were looking at what it was that we wanted to create for our children and our legacies and the lineages to come. When I look at our counterparts, you know, racism works the way it does because there's some they plan very well.
Yeah.
And when I say very well, I mean centuries at a time. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the things that we are working against, when we are working towards in a reactionary fashion, and I know that I'm an advocate that we have everything that we need within us, but sometimes the approaches that we take in terms of when we come to the table, what analyses are we bringing that helps inform how we organize, how we mobilize, how we do this work for the now and for the long term, has to change. And so for me, when I look at the civil rights generation and I look at where we are now, that's the one thing that I'm hoping that we do differently, that I have seen, like the Gen Z, the babies that are coming up, they're information and their analysis around our issues and our problems is so deep and so critical. It makes me excited in my body sometimes when I'm looking at when I'm looking at the understanding that they're coming to the table with, because that's a game changer for us. And so the beauty for me of being able to look at history is to say, these are the things that they did well. And here are also some of the things that they could have did better. And not being afraid to offer that critique so that we can do things better and differently. So like you, Ron Mac, you know, Carlotta Walters is one of my cousins. My daddy integrated Southwest Middle School. Like, same as you, I come from that background and that history of having the movement and the work in my blood and in my bones. But I also have to acknowledge and be like, you know what? There are a lot of things that happen, but I think we have to have a conversation about integration, because I think it allowed us to move against our own interests as a people in ways that we still are combating today.
Okay, and I see a lot of people nodding on that. Kymara, you nodded first and hardest. Explain that nod.
Well, which nod? That last nod about integration?
Yes, that last nod.
Yeah, that last nod, you felt that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what Carissa just said is what I've heard my mother say, and my mother passed about 4 years ago. But you know, she was a part of, she graduated all Black high school, of course, but I have heard her stories, and of course I've read and studied, but I heard my mama's stories, okay, and my grandmama's stories about the family structure and how strong it was with the family structure and education prior to integration. Mm-hmm. And then my mom being in education, she was an educator, and then to hear her talk about a lot of the issues that have infiltrated the family and in education post-segregation, post-integration, you know, and it almost seemed like that we were better off integrated, but the problem was we didn't have equal access. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? We could have had equal access. You know, we hear the stories about the classrooms, the school buildings, the textbooks that they had to learn from. You know, and so when so how did integration really help our generation? How did it really help as far as the family? I know there's good. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to bring out the point where I was nodding so bad is that I just believe we lost a lot of our family structure, that solid family structure, when we integrated with and in education. There's a difference with the education, because now these kids have teachers who don't care one way or the other about them or not. They are there to get a check, and they passing our babies on. But before it was integration, you were gonna learn. Yeah. You were gonna learn, because your teachers were also your Sunday school teachers, wherever you went within the community, So we lost a sense of community. So that was part of my heavy nod there.
Well, I spent a year, that was 2017. Mm-hmm. I spent the year 2017 working as a guest curator for the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center. And I traveled the state of Arkansas interviewing alumni of the Negro schools that are still alive. And it was a very eye-opening year for me, because I got a chance to interview about 80 different people. And out of those 80 different people unequivocally said that integration was a failure for the Black community. Yeah. Every last one of them said that. Basically, what you talked about is we lost our family structure. We lost our community structure. Right. We lost our school structure. We lost our financial structure. We lost our communities. We lost pretty much everything. Our food. We can't even feed ourselves now. And one of the things that was that they all said to me is that they were interested in sitting for the interviews because they wanted to send a message to the millennials, to tell the millennials, we screwed up. You guys need to pick it up and run with it.
Wow. Wow.
That's interesting.
See, that's why people like,
Things I heard
You
my
know,
mom.
when you were
Hold
well,
on.
that's why people
LeRon,
like
go ahead.
Marcus Garvey. That's why people like the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They came in with a self-help program, you know, where they said we will create our own businesses. So when you look at 9th Street, otherwise known as the Line, we had Black movie theaters. We had Black cab companies. We had Black pharmacies. We had a Black hospital. Understand what that means. That means that we had somebody who was the CEO of the hospital, the CFO of the hospital, the chief surgeon. We had somebody at every level. And then when you went back to the community, you had him living right next to the custodian. You had him living right next to the person who swept the street. And they knew each other. All these different classes of Black people knew each other in these communities. All of these different people understood that they could create a business. The soda shop was Black. The hot dog stand was Black.
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. What I'm hearing is that we lost the investment when we lost investment in our communities and the value in our communities whenever that happened. Is that
And
no, go ahead.
This will be the last thing I say about it. So this is what someone said. You have 100% clientele Black. The white people have 100% clientele white. You lose, let's say, half, 50% of your clientele Black. They gain it. You see the money?
Yes.
You lose another 25%. They gain it. You see the money? So our economic base could no longer support me saying, hey, little Johnny, work for me at the hot dog stand.
Yeah, one part about that, and I'm glad we're talking about economics. Yesterday, we began a economic push in the Black Lives Matter movement, dealing with
In the country, yeah.
In the country, Blackout Tuesday. Anybody want to speak on that?
It was awesome.
Please.
But that's what we do anyway, majority of us.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna touch back on what everybody else was saying. Carissa, you're right. Gen Z is amazing. These little children, they're like, oh, Trump wants to sit here and silence us. We're gonna get rid of his app. We're gonna do this. I mean, technologically wise, I've learned so much from these kids. These kids, they scare me. If I make them mad, I'm scared of what they're gonna do and what they're gonna find. Thank goodness I lived in a generation where it was not recorded, but they're amazing and they're going hard, which is what our parents wanted us millennials to see. But what we did was we integrated ourselves and we parked and we lost our village. And by parking and losing our village, we lost our village coming in to do the things that we needed to do. We didn't have that support to be able to get there and be that loudmouth because most of us work in a call center, work for somebody else, or have to receive a paycheck from that other 100%, those others that aren't us. And so it hinders your voice. It silences you. They figured out how to silence you real quick. They're like, oh, if I'm feeding you, you ain't gonna bite the hand that feeds you. You're gonna be real careful about what you say about me. So still in a sense, it's still a master, yes sir, no sir situation that we put our millennials into. And that's why it ended up being parked. It wasn't parked just because our own, because like Carissa said, they planned a century ahead. They said, yeah, we're gonna free you, but you're still gonna need us. Yeah. And so that's what they did to our children. And our Gen Z said, you know what? I live at home with Mama and Gigi. Guess what I'm gonna do? And they get out there and they do all the attacks that they need to help organize us, teach us about a VPN and things like that, and how to move it over to a whole nother country. Baby, I never heard of no stuff like that, but I'm figuring it out as we go because it's needed. That technology is that gap that we needed in order to move things over. And it's a beautiful thing that we're getting to experience it and we're all coming together because these Gen Zs, how they shut down Trump? I just don't even understand that with that rally. They're like, oh, we're gonna buy tickets. My child's like, yeah, I bought 2 tickets, Mom. I got 2 tickets.
Yeah, I
We'll see you
did
at the
too.
house. I was like, you got rally tickets. How did you do that? Then got them in trouble with COPA because they're underage and they weren't checking that they were underage on numerous different things, which is why they're so upset about TikTok and everything else. But you guys are right. We didn't really integrate into a burning house. We just integrated into a parking garage. And that's where they left us. They're still in that high rise, and we still down here in this parking garage trying to get up, and they holding the elevator and closing that door on us every chance we get. And we just have to figure out how we can keep that door open or break it down. And I think that's where we're at right now, at that critical impasse where we just have to decide we're hunkering down and we're not going to take no for an answer. Either you're going to treat us equal or you cannot treat us at all and leave us alone, because we've built our own. Everybody wants to negate and say, you guys didn't do this. We built our own. We had our own villages. We had our own parks. We had our own communities. We had our own banks. We had everything. And they burnt it down and bombed us to death. Every time we rebuild it.
No, I was going to say that with that, what you just said, that is the beginning. Well, not the beginning. Our ancestors experienced trauma. And so with that became generations of trauma. And when we parked to do our integration and to assimilate and get in there and try to make things better think we were making things better for our communities, that trauma never left, and then it continued. So that's a whole nother space of trying to figure out how we're going to get past that so that we can have that strategy, because we didn't get past that when we parked. Like it was quiet, it stuck, people didn't talk about it. People still don't talk about it. And we have to have conversations, and then we have to be with our generations that are coming behind us and are saying, calling their grandfathers out and different people. Like we've had white men calling in tears and crying, talking about their grandchildren or people who have called them out for their supremacy and other things like that. Getting past that, and I think it takes not just our community, the white community and all other communities, having those hard conversations with people in order to break past that silence of just not talking about it. So
I 100% agree. We have to learn to understand that through growth, pain is growth. And you're going to have pain when you grow. Like you have growing pains as a kid, your legs hurt, your arms hurt, everything's hurting because it's growing. And we have to learn to be okay with that. And we've been taught in that mentality that anything that hurts us, we back away from. Where in reality, you have to keep going forward and going through it. You don't stop because it hurts. You stop until it stops hurting. You don't stop because it's hurting you. You stop until it stops hurting. And that's where our indoctrination and our mentality has been broken, to where we feel a little bit of resistance or pain, we back off. And that kind of hindered us. It hindered us a lot, because nobody knows how to deal with that pain. We haven't been taught mentally how to deal with that generational trauma from our ancestors, from our great grandparents, our grandparents, our parents, all that's trickled down through us, because it still lives in us. And we haven't been taught how to actually deal with it and get it out and work from it and to heal from it and to grow from it. I mean, people don't like introspection, but introspection is needed, and you need to introspect on a generational level in order to grow forward. And we haven't been doing that, and nobody really teaches it or talks about it. Those hard conversations. I'm like, you need to cry. You need a guttural scream. You need to go do that. If you need to do that for a week, go do it. Get it out. Now let's focus. Let's move forward, and let's work from that pain, and let's grow. And not many people talk about doing that.
One thing that go ahead. I was about to say, I think that's part of the beauty of this movement, is that it does feel more holistic in nature in terms of being able to address more components than we've seen addressed before. So like part of this acknowledging the gaps is acknowledging, in our comfort, what did we neglect? What were the things that we allowed to go by the wayside? When you had a whole, in that integration generation, you had a whole crack generation, like a whole generation of children who grew up without parents in their homes, like raised themselves, their siblings, all of that. And then again, the conversations that began in our community. So we were talking about economics in Blackout Tuesday, and one of the things that I was thinking about is how I appreciate that Black people are making the conscious choice to spend with Black people no matter what.
Right.
Yep.
Because economics is not about money, it is about relationships.
Yes.
And part of what we lost in integrating are those relationships. So by us forcing ourselves, or making the, not even forcing, but making the commitment, because that's what it is essentially, is I'm making a commitment to do something, and then I'm going to honor the commitment that I've made to keep these dollars in my community. And so what I'm forcing myself to do in that commitment is build relationships with people who I otherwise would have crossed the street on, because we've made each other disposable in value for different reasons, you know. And so part of this work and looking at it as a holistic movement is reclaiming the value. Like, hey man, I know you do jacked up stuff sometime, I do too, but we all got to heal. So there should be grace in our interactions, because we know we all coming from this same predicament where we're, you know, needing to heal from the harm that we've experienced. And so I think that's another thing that's happening. Another thing that I'm looking for, hoping for, plotting on, is figuring out what the place of the Black church is in this movement, because that is an entity that has been completely silent, to the point that I'm growing disgusted.
Me too.
Just because
Me too.
there's so many resources and so much power that sits in those spaces that could be used right now and mobilized for the sake of the people that are just going by the wayside. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, Chris, can we hear from you?
You right on topic.
Yep.
Yes.
Just wrote a statement last night that says, when churches are silent. I have been just, you know, and I wrote that and I had a whole lot to say, but I couldn't write it down because I needed to calm down. But that is it. Our churches are too silent.
Yeah.
They are. But here's my question. What do we do? What do we do?
We keep
Kymara, I think you're speaking to the how do we get together thing that was spoken, the woke, the documentary we were watching. Like, how do we get together?
Yeah.
Latonya, I'm gonna hit you really quickly. How do we be together?
How do we be together?
How do we be together? Like, how are we connecting in this movement? Church, you know, clergy and judges, you know, our city government.
Just pay attention to what's been going on since COVID. We're not going to church because what's been happening in church ain't been working. So I think now is a perfect time for us to establish those real relationships. And those genuine relationships are being developed through Zoom, through marches, through rallies, through protests, through because people aren't going into the church house. I always think that things happen for a reason. There is a reason why COVID has prohibited us, for the most part, from gathering at church and shouting and singing and sweating and spitting for 2 hours, or not, but not really being productive. And whether we watch it on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever we're doing for our own spirituality, the face of church, the facade of church is no more. Not right now, and I really don't see it coming back up, at least in the immediate future.
Right.
And so I don't think there's anything we do right now but let God be God and do what he's going to do, because he's already dismantled church as we know it.
Yes.
And so I think that's because the church has been silent. I think it's because we've not been effective. And all of the things that we've been doing that's not been effective is essentially slowly being washed out. Somebody said something earlier about being reactive, and I don't necessarily like to be reactive, but it goes back to that timing issue, because I feel like we're at ground zero with everything. Politics, government, church, education, everything is at ground zero. And the only thing you can do from ground zero is build.
Well,
So the timing of all of that for me is, it starts with these Zoom panel discussions and what are we going to do? Yeah, I want to
you were saying something. Go ahead.
Economic something, but I'm on hush right now because there's something about that I really want to say that I think is
We'll come back to you.
I'll wait.
I really wanted to comment on that whole thing about
I
we're starting at
Carissa
ground
had to
zero.
say.
Oh,
Carissa,
okay.
what's on your mind?
We can feel it.
Hold on. LeRon, go ahead and get it out. Then we're gonna come to Carissa.
Chris.
All right. So two things. The first thing is that man, I saw exactly what you saw, Miss Austin. I was like, man, the church is finally figuring out that it is not a building. It is not brick and mortar. It is not about some physical structure. It is about the people. It is about the relationship, just like the economics that you talked about, Ms. Rodgers. It's about the relationship. But the second thing I wanted to say was about the economics, because we cannot, as Black people, stop racism. We are powerful. We are majestic, but we don't even own racism. Racism happens in a system. It happens behind closed doors. I can be called nigga all day. That's not real racism. The real racism, and I have been in classrooms by students, but the real racism happens when they say, oh, Lakeisha Wana, we're not gonna give them the job. We're not gonna promote LeRon McAdoo over there. We're not going to give the raise to Kwame. We're not going to, that's where the real racism happens. We're not gonna give the bid to Miss Bay. We're not gonna do that. So when those bids come through, when all those other things, so what we have to do is go back to the discipline that was talked about earlier. Shop Black, spend Black, buy Black, sell Black.
All right. I agree with you 100%, LeRon. I want to stay on the topic of religion for a second. And I want to do that because I was given an invitation last week to speak at the Little Rock Catholic Archdiocese next week. And I'll be speaking in front of 100 Catholics. And their question is, what can we do to help the Black Lives Matter movement? Can we answer that question? So, because we do have churches that are interested, it's just not Black churches.
Right. So we're asking you guys to give him some resources, some information, some asks.
Just answer
Use
that
their
question.
voice, use their voice and use their skin. They already have the advantage. Use that privilege for something other than just nothing. I hate hearing them say, I don't have white privilege. I don't even know what it is. I've never gotten to enjoy it. Yes, you do. You just never figured out how to use it. If you need help using it, call us. We'll tell you how to use that skin. I know how I can use it. I've used it too. Like he was saying with interviews, that racism does happen behind closed doors. I never got a lot of jobs after that first interview. I was listings after that first interview. You want to know how I get in? My name's Natalie James. That's a very white name. And that is part of the white privilege that I try to use. And I try to overuse it because it's there and it's available. I'm gonna use it like they use it. But what gets me when they see me is that skin. So they need to do the same thing. They need to use their voice and they need to use their skin and help us by any means necessary. If that means that they have to lose their money, their friends, their family, the same thing that we losing, because we losing lives. So for them to lose some money and to lose some time and to lose their job, baby, that's nothing compared to a life. You can't get a life back. You can go get another job because your name is Joe Blow. Your name is Joe Smith. You can go do whatever it is that you want to do. Use your skin and use your voice. And if you see and need some help, do it. When you see somebody doing wrong, say something. Call these politicians. Pick up the phone the same way that we pick up the phone. It makes more impact when Karen does it. So if you want to be a Karen for the right reason, not a Karen to call police on me, but to call and record and complain on the police is the kind of Karen that we need. Be the right kind of Karen and be the right kind of whatever it is that you think you want to be at that time, but use your skin and your voice for the right reasons and not to do harm to others. Treat us how you want to be treated. Because what the real thing is, they're scared that we're going to treat them how they treated us for 400, 500 years. But they don't understand. We don't want to waste our energy that way. We're too high. We're vibrating on a whole nother level that we're not going to lower ourselves to do that type of mentality. So just go ahead and rise yourself up and use your skin and go on and use your voice and do what you need to do, because the time is now. And if we, like everybody's saying, how do we get everybody to do it? You demand it. Like my children, I don't expect, they have expectations. I don't want anything less than what I expect. And if you don't do it, I don't want it. Point blank, period. These are my expectations and you need to rise to meet them. And if you don't, you go back in that room and go figure it out until how you can get to here where I'm asking and I know you can be. We're not asking people to do anything that we know that they can't do. That's what makes everybody so angry. And
So
we
Natalie,
just can't get it.
I'm hearing, thank you. I'm hearing use your voice and use your privilege. Okay, so we have those two things.
Shay,
Yes.
can you, what do we need to ask the Catholic Church here in Little Rock?
I feel like a good question to ask them would be how are
Yes.
Come back to me
Okay.
real quick and let me get my thoughts together on that.
Okay.
She's saying a lot that I've been thinking about. So
Chris, what do we need to ask the Catholic Church here in Little Rock?
So first, let me just start off by saying that everyone has been having some phenomenal points. I've just been taking in the wisdom and knowledge from so many veterans, and I just thank y'all for everything y'all been saying. I am really, really abstract, y'all. Like I could care less about the actual Black Lives Matters hashtag and social media stuff, because the millennial generation is the smallest voting generation and things of that nature. And then in terms of us actually being in position of power, not just our generation, but our people and stuff, like we shy away from elected positions. We shy away from JPs. People shy away from a lot of different decision-making powers. So my thing, or to answer your question, it really be legislation, legislation and policies. If you, for example, my church behind my house, it's about 200 people. It's actually one of the most financially stable white churches in this community. In this church is our county judge, 2 JPs, I think 3 school board members, and 4 city council members. If I wanted to come talk to them and I had the opportunity to talk to them the way you'll be given your opportunity, I'm talking about legislation. I'm talking about them going to their elected officials and demanding legislation. I'm talking about any form of legislation that protects and provides equality to African Americans, people of color, the LGBTQ. I don't care what it is. I don't personally care too much about anything else, whether it's the monuments, whether it's the painting, whether it's the changing ancient mama. I don't care about that stuff. If it's not legislation, we will constantly be talking about this over and over again until our kids are having these same conversations. So I'm pretty sure that once you go into that Catholic church, about 20 of them are going to be business owners that have political ties. About 17 of them are going to be lawyers. About 5 of them probably are former judges and stuff like that. So they have to, like someone was mentioned, with their skin, with their privilege, get in front of these city council meetings, get in front of these JP Quorum Court meetings, come to these state legislators and talk about legislation in days, in times, and eras where the Black person can't get up there. I've been asking for that for a very long time, and it really doesn't matter just what color your skin is. You just have to be talking about it for the equality of all. And when the conversation happens long enough, when white people's doing it, then Black people come, then Mexicans and LGBTQ, these elected officials are going to do one or two things. You either fold under pressure, you get put out your seat, or you're going to get the changes done that we need. So just in general, any answer that I'm going to have is going to be about legislation. The hate crime bill that's being talked about, it's been talked about since 2001.
Right.
It should not take 19 years to get that passed. And it took 19 years, all 50 states and 13 countries, for Arkansas to finally get a hate crimes legislation just drafted. It's not even being passed yet. It won't get passed, I don't think, until the 93rd General Assembly. God, I hope I'm there, because I promise to raise all kind of hell about it. But legislation is all I care about. Legislation and policies is going to really shape the core of us breaking the next barrier into getting equality and the social justice that we need. So legislation.
Thank you.
All right. Drekkia, what do I need to ask the Catholic Church?
You need to ask the Catholic Church for some money.
I was just about to say, how are they going to serve the Black community?
Boom. This is my thing. I believe what we're fighting for, we might not be around to see it actually even be carried out. So we have to empower our youth, because they're the future. So we need to build them up so that they can go back and, be in these different positions of power, because I feel like in places where we're not represented, we'll never be thought about. So we have to infiltrate this system. We have to build up our youth to be present in every space that exists, like the cartel. They send their kids to school so they can be the lawyers, the policemen, and all of that. So if they want to do something, tell them to sow into some programs for youth that help empower them. Like I used to work with St. Mark. They have two programs over there, Program Impact and one called Reclaiming Scholars. And Reclaiming Scholars is a program for students, basically. So it's an alternative to suspension program. So when students get suspended, they would come to us and we would work with them on life skills. And that's what we have to do. We really have to be in the lives of the youth to show them that they're valuable, because a lot of Black people now, and even I realized this when I was in college, that we harbor a lot of subconscious self-hate. There's Black people all around, don't even know they hate themselves. And when you hate yourself, you cannot be a productive citizen in society. If you're not a productive citizen in society, we cannot have this village that we need in order to really support each other. So if we can really get to the foundation of building up strong Black people who love themselves and who can show that love to other people, so that it can multiply and create this domino effect, so that we can exist in a positive and a powerful way in society, then that's what they can do. Send us some money.
Okay, we got
Piggybacking off what Drekkia said, definitely my question for them would be, what are they going to do to serve the Black community? And just like she said, things like programs, giving the business people who are in these Catholic churches, figuring out how you can get small businesses, small Black-owned businesses, loans or grants or money, because that takes it a step further than just using their voice with the people that they know and with the people that their people know. You're actually putting your words into physical action, so that you can to really solidify everything that they are, all these conversations, these hard conversations that they're having with their people.
Thank you, Shay. Yeah. Dee.
I got three things.
We're gonna come to you, LeRon. We coming
to you.
Everybody.
We're gonna ask everybody this question. Dee, what do I need to ask the Catholic Church?
Me and Drekkia are definitely on the same page, man. Money talks, okay? Not necessarily. We do want them to donate to the community and to their political parties that they like, the donations to the parties. But I also would like to see people donating to the protests. Donate water, donate have a water station somewhere in the protest. We had a couple people at our protest bring pizza and stand by the side of the road with an open pizza box and like, here, get the pizza. Or we had some people with a big cooler full of cold towels to hand out to people. So it's not just the big thing, but we also need to take a look at the smaller things as well. Because if we don't take a look at the smaller things, the bigger picture won't come together.
Yes, I agree. Latonya, what do I need to ask the Catholic Church?
You need to ask them all of those things that everybody else asked before me, before I spoke. But this is the bow I want you to wrap around it. Create ways, using these suggestions that the other panelists have said, to put Blacks in a place of equity and not just a place of equality.
Yes.
Here's
Say that
the
one more
problem.
time.
We started behind the 8 ball. And when we started behind the 8 ball, we have yet to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to be equal.
Right.
I want to be equitable. And to be equitable, that might mean you pay me more than Karen.
Yes.
We're doing the same job. That may mean you donate more to this organization, because in order for it to be fair, in order for it to be equitable, you got to do more for me because you had me back behind the 8 ball. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to be equal. I don't want to be your equal. I want it to be fair. So do all of these things so that we can be equitable and not just equal, because we can't do, even if we make the same amount of money, we can't do the same thing that you do with your 100,000, because we can't invest it the same way. We have the same opportunity that you have with your 100,000. I'm still trying to play catch up and not live paycheck to paycheck. I don't have 25,000 of that 100,000 to leave for my daughter. Equitable. I need that.
Kymara, what does he need to ask?
Okay, I want to lift up what Chris said, using their voice in public policy. Using their voice in public policy. Now, I will volunteer to organize them. Listen, they need to be organized. We can't
take you to the meeting with me then.
Yeah. You know, we can't just say it to them and walk out. You know, they need to be organized. So I got you there.
All right.
Know, we are preparing for it's going to be a lot of bills that their voice will be powerful. Yeah. Their voice is going to be more important than my voice. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that is somewhere, and I'm really, really serious about that. You get their name and their email address and a phone number and say, we need you when the legislature starts. We've got some advocacy work for you. Yeah. You know, that's just at the state level, okay?
All right.
And so I think that's going to be important. But another thing, something that the others haven't said yet, because I do ditto what's been said, one of the things I think you should do, and I'm not going to say they're not in denial about what's going on. They just hadn't paid much attention to what's going on. Mm-hmm. I think you walk in there and with something that you can leave them, a page of resources. Here are 10 documentaries. Y'all got Netflix. Here are 10 documentaries you need to watch, okay? You know, just your top 10 you recommend, or maybe your top 5, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then here's your top, 3 books or 5 books, or what, they may not read a book, but provide that to them, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you tell them, we want you to support Black businesses in this community. You know, I know you can't list them all, but you know, y'all figure out how you do it. I'm just throwing it out there, okay?
Yeah, I
And
like that.
gives them something tangible, you know, that they can do. They can watch these documentaries, they can read these books. Now they're gonna be kind of messed up in the head, so you're gonna have to go back. You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna come back and they're gonna swear they didn't know all that was going on, right?
We're gonna bring them to the table. Yeah.
Huh?
We're gonna
We're
bring
gonna
them
bring them to the table.
after they watch.
Right. So we finna wake them up, you know, because they didn't know nothing about all this going on. So after you give them, you know, some assignments, y'all got to go back to that Catholic church and have another conversation at another level. So I think what y'all need to do is plan over the course of the next 3 months, 3 to 4 visits.
Right.
All right.
That's what, yeah, all right.
All right, LeRon.
Hey, look, so I had 3, y'all made me double them.
Oh,
Because everybody had such good ideas. Okay, but I'm on roll. All right, so first of all, I love playing on white guilt. All right, so the first thing, these are short-term, immediate things that can happen. They can invest in wraparound services for school-age students. By wraparound services, I mean everything from social workers to people that take care of them if they're in some type of mental distress, physical distress, need clothing, need shelter. They can fund those things that are already out in the community that we as school educators always are looking for. The second thing is the no interest loans to Black businesses. No interest loans. I'm glad you said that, Shay. It was on my list. All right. The next thing is maybe not even a scholarship, but my company gives out what we call a cash award because we do not connect it to how well you do academically. We give a cash award out. So it's not a scholarship, it's a cash award. So give a cash award out to some students that are going to college. And then, and another reason why I say give that out, maybe they won't, in a dream world, maybe Biden to get rid of tuition and then they can go for free, but they still gonna have to buy food and eat, get books. Else they be like my 2 in the back room talking about, Daddy, what we gonna eat? Now, these next 3 are the long-term goals. The first one is going back to what Ms. Seals said, they need bias training. Now, I'm saying that partly because I am a trainer, but also I understand the value in them understand cultural relevance, them understanding that they have biases built within them that they may not be truly aware of. So yes, we will wake them up. We will wake them up, Ms. Seals. But then they need to extend that training. I'm on my last 2. They need to extend that training to Black people so that we won't have to keep depending on this outside source to provide us with fish. We will teach Black people how to fish. We need to have them invest in professional and personal development for Black people. Develop professional and personal development for Black people, whether that be how to be a business person, an entrepreneur, whether that be how to manage systems, whether that all of those things that happen within the context of human interaction, they need to invest in training. And the last thing is they need to use one of these food deserts out there as an experiment and create a grocery store. I just talked about to an activist yesterday, and they were saying, man, how can we get a grocery store in this community? He's from College Station. I said, man, y'all ain't got a grocery store out there? No, we spend more money going to get the food. Then when we buy the food on Roosevelt, it costs more at the Roosevelt Kroger's than it do at the Chenal Kroger. So you losing on both ends. Then you got to get a ride. It needs to be one on 12th. It needs to be one in College Station. It needs to be man, there's so many food deserts that they need to invest in food deserts and then give it to the Black people in that community.
And we talk about, when we talk about food deserts, LeRon, we say food apartheid because deserts, like deserts happen naturally. These are
Apartheid is
man-made.
man-made.
These deserts are
I
man.
like that.
So apartheid is that happening upon people. People structurally creating violence in communities that causes this. So yes, absolutely, 100%. And not only just grocery stores, but I think it should be more co-op in that the community has more of a connection and buy-in to the grocery store. Because once you take a grocery store away, the community loses faith in that grocery store staying in that community because you've already taken it once, right? So if we can get them to invest in like a Harps, right? Where they have a community, a co-op, employee type system where the community comes together and buys that store and buys into running that store and taking care of it. And when they do that, then it shows more, like there's more unity, there's more buy-in to the grocery store, and it'll stay in the community longer. So I'm with you guys 100%. Carissa, yes.
Hold on a second. What is it that you think I need to ask the Catholic Church?
I just said,
Oh, in addition.
that's my piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my small pieces. I agree 100% with everybody on here, and that what I just broke down is what I would like to see. Carissa's about to drop the bomb. You the last person with everybody in.
You blew it up.
I've covered everything, but only thing I would give is a small piece of contextual framework that confession and concession. So me, the Catholic Church is the culprit of a lot of things as it relates to our oppression. Historically, presently, institutionally, they ain't never dropped it. So in addition to everything that everybody else said, I would like for them to help some of our young scholars get access to the Vatican so they can go study, because they hold all the information of the world. Like if we talking about scholarship and really raising our scholars up to be able to serve our interests as the people, then they need to be able to know what's what. So there's that. And also anything that they say that they agreed to do, they do not do unless it comes by direct order. So I think that they should sign an agreement, almost like a treaty, if you will. I know we're not a formal Black nation, but considering the historicity of their involvement in our precarious situation, I do think they should make a long-term investment to concede power over time. And so all of these things that we're talking about, yeah.
Can I make a point real quick?
You might not ask them that on the first visit now.
You gotta ease into that.
I need to be there.
The bomb. That's gonna come on the end.
Chris said.
I just want to point something out, and I had to look this up just to be as accurate as possible. So the Catholic denomination and the power that they have, which goes to Carissa's point, is significant. I just realized or just found out that 22 of our 50 United States senators are Catholics, and then 141 of our 436 United States representatives are Catholic. So that's 1/4 of the House. That's almost half of the Senate. At a state level, we have over 10 Catholic in our state legislature and 10 or state House and 10 Catholic in our state Senate. So when we are trying to not attack, but like aim our message at big denominations or big organizations like that, we have to know just how concentrated and concise we want our demands or our requests to be made, so that it can be echoed all throughout. Because that alone, for the Catholic denomination to have that much power in political engagement, in public policy, in legislation and stuff like that, that can't be ignored. And I love everyone's ideas. I just hope whoever it may be, whenever we all get our opportunity to present these ideas to this denomination or whoever it may be, that we have like concise and concrete and organized requests so that it can be echoed at every level of government and decision making. So just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely. And this is why we're asking.
The meeting is Thursday.
This is why we're asking
afternoon.
you all, because we right now it's written down and it will be asked and it will be concise. and he will deliver the
Yeah.
message.
Chris, can you please send me the list of those names in the state legislature so that we can do some things with those names?
Gotcha.
One thing that I want to ask is, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette interviewed me yesterday about this talk that I'm having at the diocese, and they asked me about, well, what are you going to tell them? And I said, well, the first thing I want to tell them is that everybody on this call and the next 3 calls that we're having, they all need to be gainfully employed activists and social advocates. So you give me some money so that I can make sure all these people don't have to clock in somewhere. We have 7 people that couldn't make it tonight because they got to go to work.
I hear you.
Hey, Kwami, one thing that I would say, this list is so powerful that every industry out there, every entity rather, I know that there have been boycotts of Walmart, or at least shutdowns of Walmart. This list needs to go to Walton's. It needs to go to Target's. It needs to go to the Dillard's from Arkansas.
All right.
I think this list is so powerful that it translates in any or at any entity.
Yes.
All right.
That's right.
Absolutely. And we this is the for sure the goal is to collect, ask, so that when people come to us and say, what do we do? Here you go. You know what I'm saying? It's already there. We don't have to guess. We don't have to even wait, a day or a week or whatever. We already have them compiled and we just send them to them. If you're asking, we got it.
This is our 10-point plan for 2020.
Yeah, I guess we're putting that together. And just to let you guys know, and LeRon, I know you know because you're a guest every Sunday on Respect for Life. But Brother Wayne has articulated a plan that I want to incorporate into this, dealing with all of the land south of I-630, dealing with the food apartheid, dealing with the no interest loans and everything. So, and what we want to do is we want to drop a pebble into the ocean here in Little Rock and let it ripple and hit every single community in Arkansas. That's what the plan is.
Awesome.
So we're all working together, and we're all going to be working to do different things on different levels, but we all need to stay connected and help each other out and inform each other and support each other and lift up each other.
And definitely I would like to thank everybody has a role, and we all talk about it. We all know it. We know that we all have different roles in this movement. I just want to thank the frontliners, the organizers, and people who are actually out there or have been out there in the past. I think we've all at some point, or maybe not, who knows, been out in front in, facing maybe the police or facing crowds of people and trying to, drive home a point. So I want to thank you all for that, because I know that that's hard. And it's also, it's difficult when you are now, especially now that there are more allies involved, more of the people coming, together, that you have to now organize and educate. So I know you're doing a lot of educating,
Yes.
and trying to push the message and the thought. Carissa, you shaking your head, because there's a lot of education that's going on, and it can be very hard and tiring, but that's the work we do. Also, like I said, we have our places in the movement. They are valued. Nobody's place is less than. Everybody, like from the healers to the people who are giving out cold towels, Dee, what you were talking about in a
I got a
cooler
question to ask Dee.
on the front line. That's valuable. And so we take nobody's role lightly or less than. Everybody's role is very important. And so we just want to thank you for that you have.
I got Dee, what the hell you driving? You've been driving this whole you should be in Memphis by now.
Yeah. So I'm driving from Hot Springs back to Lone Oak.
She been going the whole time.
Yeah.
I was trying to see if it was just a backdrop, but it's real.
All right. Everyone's time. I did say that we do this for 90 minutes, and I think we've reached that. So this is the first of many, and you guys will be back for other conversations, because I think we've just really started something real powerful that we got to keep going.
Absolutely.
Powerful. So if everyone right now, for all of the people that are listening to this conversation, if you could please reintroduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, what are you doing right now in the movement in your particular locale? What is your goal? And put an ask out there. If you need something from the people that are listening, go ahead and tell them what you need.
One ask.
One ask. LeRon, you can cut that list down. You got 15, I see over there.
We're going to start from our left to all the way down. So,
Latonya.
Latonya Laird-Austin Honorable. And I know there's a lot of names, but they all mean something. But I am from Little Rock. I live in Sherwood. Pulaski County is my focal point, and I'm an attorney, and so whenever I approach something, I approach it in terms of protecting and exercising certain rights. My ask, August the 6th at 5:30, there is a rally of
Latonya, you just faded out after you said the 6th.
Our sound is dragging too.
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
Latonya, type it in the chat.
Yeah, type it in the chat and we'll say. Okay, Shay.
So I'm Shay.
So many people don't know that one felon and discharges this person can
Okay, Shay.
vote.
So,
August 6th, that rally happens on the steps of the Pulaski County Circuit Courthouse. There is a flyer that is a how-to guide on my page. Please pull flyer, share it so that people can come. August 6th is a rally of restoration. Hear me?
Okay, Shay, go ahead.
Type it
so
in.
I'm Shay Holloway. I'm in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And right now, what I'm working on is I started a fundraiser for Black families in the area, just for, school is out, COVID happened, a lot of people lost their jobs, like kids probably aren't eating. So I started a fundraiser. My goal was $1,500 to give 3 families to use for necessities like food, bills, things of that nature. My ask would be for it. This is mainly directed toward the allies. Would just be to do the work, do the emotional, mental, spiritual work. I've seen a lot of people really ask a lot of questions, and that's cool, that's fine, and everything. But I feel like the role of Black people in this is not 90. It's not 60-40 in terms of like educating our allies. I feel like, a lot of people who have been called to do this work and have been doing this work already have done a lot of that work already. So, those people need to go through that same process of educating themselves and figuring out, where you stand on everything.
Okay, so just to repeat what Latonya said, August 6th at 5:30 on the steps of the Pulaski County Circuit Courthouse, rally for restoration, restoring felons' voting rights, and please go to her page, her Facebook page, and find the event and how-to guide. So we will definitely do that, Latonya. Thank you.
All right, Natalie.
Hey, I am Natalie James. I am a local realtor and a local loudmouth. So I try to, again, use it for the correct purposes, and I feel the best purpose to use it for is for Black lives. Black lives are worthy, they're precious, and they need to be protected. And it's always a loudmouth that helps institute that. So I like to get up here and also, again, educate my people. And I felt the best way to educate my people and to try to bridge that generational gap and that financial gap was through home ownership and teaching about equity. So when you brought up, we don't want equality, we want equity, boom. That's what I teach about in my home buying seminars. Not teaching just to buy a home, but we're going to get some equity in it. We're going to build your credit up. You're going to be able to live and say, I have 6 months of reserves. I feel good. And that way we can think and de-stress and actually make good decisions that can grow us and continue to grow the movement. And I know that's a lot of what hindered our movement, is not having the finances to be able to move and to say, and the freedom to say. Anytime I get an opportunity to teach somebody to grow a business or start a business, I always help. If there's money out there, I'm like, hey, get this money right here, because that's the best way you can do to help your community. So I just try to help as much as I can in any way I can. And pretty much, I guess I'm like a navigator, fixer, and I fit in the little molds and help everybody wherever I can. And when I get an opportunity to, gives me great pleasure, great joy, and I love it. So born and raised here, lived in Dallas for a few years, came back here, 2 girls, a 15-year-old, 7-year-old, and I am just here to make sure that it's a wonderful place for my babies, because this honey badger doesn't want anybody doing anything to my children. So I want to make sure that it's a great place for them to grow up and they have all the equitable advances and opportunities that they can have. And I want to make sure I'm doing all that I can as a mother to provide that for my kids and other kids.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
LeRon.
Man, all I'm going to say is littlerocklove.com, littlerocklove.com. Throw your L's up. That's right. Also, I have children that by children, I mean students that I mentor, and I always teach them how to monetize their talent. I always teach them that they are valuable and what they create is valuable. So we have a book out now called A Righteous Look at Corona, because the name of our poetry and arts collective is called The Righteous. But we are coming out with a George Floyd, Righteous Look at George Floyd and Racism book coming soon, probably within the next couple weeks. So buy these products so the money goes to the children themselves.
Great,
Thank you.
great. Kymara.
It's Kymara.
Kymara.
Hey, okay, so this has been an awesome conversation. I appreciate being a part of it. I am Kymara Seals, originally from Hamburg, and but I'm in Pine Bluff, and we have a group that is called Pine Bluff Social Justice Activists. That is new. Now, I'm not new to this work. I've been around for quite a long time, but this particular group, and we felt the need to actually organize around, you know, to have some long-term planning, strategic planning, organizing. We're doing some educating. Educating our community. And everybody knows Pine Bluff is predominantly African American, okay? So we're gonna be talking about power structures. You know, who has the power? I'm gonna make some folk mad around here, but it's necessary, okay? It's necessary. And so we're going to be, you know, taking a hard look at policing and that type of stuff. So we're excited about the opportunity, and, you know, I just continue to, you know, plug into opportunities and networks like this. And, you know, you know, the ask right now is, I got y'all's names, and I'll probably be following up because we're going to be doing some Zoom webinars and things. And man, everybody on here is dope and got something to say. And you know, a lot we can learn. Yeah. So I'll be hitting y'all up, say, hey, can y'all give me an hour with my people in Pine Bluff, right? So, yeah, so that's kind of what class will be, you know. So we're looking at July 30th, starting this Know Your Rights series. And so we got July, August, September, and October that we're looking at. So some of y'all gonna get hit up for some of that.
Oh yeah, you can definitely call me for that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Final words, Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chris Ogburn, Warren, Arkansas. Once again, I am the Democratic candidate for State Representative District 8. I want to bring up something really, really quickly, and I should have mentioned this earlier. There's another name I hope everyone keeps in mind just moving forward. It's a young man by the name of Marquise Martin. In this little small district of mine, a little small town named Wilmer, he was kidnapped at the end of April, and his body was found about mid-March. The damage to him was pretty severe, and the family has been trying to press for social justice, just justice in general, under his circumstances for quite some time. So Marquise Martin, I just want to get that name out there. If you just jump on Facebook, I promise you will find out about him, find out much about him. Marquis Martin. That's one thing I just want to get out there. If I haven't asked for real, for anybody that's listening or anyone that's a part of this, it's voting. It really is. Like I love everything that my generation has been doing, getting out in the streets, the marching, the protesting, just everything that's been going on. But statistically, we are the lowest demographic turnout when it comes to November. October the 19th for sure, which is early voting, but November the 3rd, none of this is going to matter if we don't get out and vote, and none of this is going to matter if the generation prior to us doesn't push us consistently to get out and vote. So that's my thing. Whatever your funds is, whatever your resources, I'm a candidate, and I have rejected donations just to encourage organizations to try to get some voter registrations, pay somebody, get out there and get some people registered to vote. So please, whatever y'all can do, listening or attending, just please, please, please get my generation out to vote. So that's my request.
Thank you. Dee Dee.
Hi, my name is Deairra Griffin, but I prefer to be called Dee Dee. I'm from Lonoke, Arkansas. I've organized a couple protests around my area. I'm currently in the process of becoming a member of the NAACP, my local chapter in my area. One of the requests I would have, according to, I'm sorry, y'all. One of the requests I have of our community is to not only get involved with marching, but to organize. We need members in places of the community like the NAACP. I know for a fact we could use more members. Get involved with volunteer work. I believe you can volunteer at the Mosaic Templar downtown. Try to educate other people about you and where you're from and your personal experiences, because a lot of people believe that racism isn't around anymore, but the more you share your personal experiences of racism and what it's done to you and what the psychological effects of it have on you, the more that hopefully they will begin to understand. So yeah.
Thank you. Carissa.
Okay, so Carissa Rodgers, born and raised in Little Rock. I've been organizing here since 2006 when the Gina 6 hit, and that started as a student organizer at Philander Smith College. Continued from there with the Women's Project and Brothers and Sisters, then the Living With and Affected by Corporation. Like okay, I've been here a while. I've been doing a lot of stuff, but presently, And I say that because I've really divested from a lot of institutions. And so I do still teach formally humanities in college. But if we're going to talk about like how I identify myself, I'm a hood scholar, a spiritual plug, and a transformation specialist. I help people figure out how to get from one place to another.
Transformation
So yeah, transformation. How do we turn things around and make it something brand new? So what I do now, since I am no longer a formal pastor who works with a formal institutional body and gets paid by it, I actually work for myself now. I have my own consulting firm called Rev the Brand, which is an acronym for redefining everyday values. But what I do is work with organizations, nonprofits, and individuals on basically identifying your goals, coming up with your strategic plan, and figuring out how to implement that. So if you know anybody who is looking to do that, I'm going to leave my website over here on the side. And I also don't have a formal church anymore, but I joke and I say often that I'm the people's pastor, because the people who call me ain't going in nobody's building. And sometimes we just be glad that they call in anybody at all. So I have a organization that has basically become a product of many of my clients called the Alternative Tribe. And what we do is we get together and we discuss history, culture, self-knowledge, just information that contributes to our own growth, transformation, and development, because we believe in being responsible and accountable for that. And so in that, I began creating digital education. So courses that help usher people through the process of how to work on different issues and transform. So I got 2 that will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. One that's for white folk on working with their microaggressiveness and getting rid of that. And then one for Black folk on the intersections of race, identity, and power. And so my analysis is the same. Y'all have heard it here tonight. If it's not too harsh, by all means, please send people to consume. And so I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, YouTube. I'm trying to spread the information as much and by as many means as possible. So that's my direct ask. And like I said, I'll leave those links in the comments.
Awesome.
Is this your name on Facebook?
Yes,
Carissa?
it is.
Okay, all right.
Awesome.
Drekkia,
Drake.
unmute yourself.
Oh, I gotta unmute myself. Well, again, I'm the poet, the artist, the creator, and energy curator. So I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm with the movement. And I just want to say this, how I can offer myself and be of assistance to anybody. Again, I believe in art and activism and youth advocacy and women empowerment. So I currently am the arts and education program manager for the state of Arkansas. And basically what I do, I help artists and organizations get money to implement art into the education system. So if that's something you're interested in, or if you have an organization that could, use grants to bring in different artists to work with your youth, then definitely hit me up. You can visit arkansasarts.org to, view what we offer, but you also can contact me directly, Drekkia Writes, and I could leave my website in the chat, but it's really just Drekkia, so DREKKIA.com, and you can contact me from there. You can follow me on any social media platform at Drekkia Writes, DREKKIA. You can see my name on this Zoom chat here. I have a women's group called the Women's Social Society that definitely can serve as a space for if you need to promote anything related to women. I'm willing to open up that space for that. And what else did I want to tell y'all? I teach poetry and creative writing. So I know in this time where kids are not going back to school, they will be missing out on a lot, because teaching is an art. Even if you do it, if you're not a teacher, then it's kind of difficult. So I'm willing to teach poetry and creative writing and help students with their communication, comprehension, and coping mechanism skills. And the thing that I ask of you with the movement, the group that I'm with, we are doing a backpack drive on August 15th in collaboration with the Arkansas Employment Career Center. And if you would like to donate, again, you can contact me to donate backpacks or school supplies, because it'll also be a free COVID testing site out there. Well, we're working on getting that. So that's the goal, to have free COVID testing on August 15th from 8 to 12. So again, if you'd like to donate, our Cash App is the Arkansas Movement, or again, you can hit me up directly if you have backpacks or supplies or anything that you would like to contribute. And the last thing you can do for me that I would greatly appreciate, if you could go out and please tell a Black child that they are dope.
Mm.
And that's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Clarice,
Yes.
please, final words.
Final words.
Yes. please.
You want me to just say
I
what
want
we
you to
do,
follow the.
or follow?
We got 9 people that done
Okay.
showed you exactly what you need to do.
Final words from me. Clarice Abdul-Bey, Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement is a project of the Ouachita Foothills Youth Media Arts and Literacy Collective, and we'll put that in there. And you can learn more about that for time's sake when I give you the .org. Check it out. Let us know how we can assist you all, because we are here for you. And also we work with youth. We've been mentors. I'm gonna speak for me. We've been mentors in the community for a long time in literacy and in other areas. And so that's where our nonprofit came. And then of course we married. So our collaboration with Ouachita Foothills all kind of came together. We also have a radio show called J Stone Vintage Soul on KBF 88.3 every Tuesday from 2 to 3. And we play vintage music, but we also do who sampled, so we do hip hop, breakbeat, all of that. But we also talk about the history of music, and then we also tap into our community. So whenever issues are happening in the community, we put together compilations to speak about what's happening, and then we kind of talk about that. So that's something else we do. I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I'm a healer, an energy worker, and I also facilitate and I do mindfulness workshops, and I also teach anti-bullying. So that's something else that we do. I guess my ask would be what we talked about. For me, I've studied in food justice before, and so for me, making sure that our communities have access, because access is the issue, and access on every level to me is important, whether it's food, transportation, education, all of those levels. We need access, and for me, it's important that if we're going to be shutting things down, we also need to be providing access for our communities so that they can get what they need. To me, that's very important. So that's something I want us to think about when we're saying we're going to shut it down, we're going to do things, we're going to eliminate these things, that we also have a plan to support the community whenever we do. And then when we do have those things for them, then we present those things to them. So that would be my ask. Yeah.
All right, and finally, I am Kwami Abdul-Bey. I have a book called The Tables Have Turned, A Street Guide to Guerrilla Lawfare. And this book was written it was actually written over the course of 7 years, beginning in 1993. And that was the year that the Little Rock Police Department killed 5 Black men in the span of 2 months. And that really awakened me to something that really needed to be looked at and solved. So with my radio show at the time, Fat Lip Youth Talk Radio, and LeRon, he actually was the artist of my logo. But with that show, we had a lot of young people who began asking questions of elected officials that made it really interesting here in Central Arkansas, even to the point where I started getting regular death threats, and I had to go under the protection of the Nation of Islam, the Fruit of Islam, yes. But this book, I want everyone to read it. Because of what's been going on this summer, I've made this book free. I've electronic copies, and I will send you guys the link. Please download it, share the link, give it to everybody. Everybody read it and give me some feedback, because right now I am walking this book around to get a contract from some publishing company to get the 25th anniversary edition done in the next 2 or 3 years. So definitely, I want you to read the book. The Tables Have Turned, A Street Guide to Guerrilla Lawfare, because it really explains what is going on, why it's going on, how it's going on. And we even talk about how in the top 25 major cities in the United States, 23 of them, the largest landowner is the Catholic Church, and why you should go to the Catholic Church with your ass. So, so that is definitely what my ask is read the book and give me some feedback on it. My other ask is that APJMM, we have we are the Arkansas chapter of an organization called Coming to the Table. And Coming to the Table is a nonprofit that was started by the Black and white descendants of President Thomas Jefferson. And the goal of this organization is to get people who would not normally sit at the same table, whether it be because of